I'm going to call the meeting to order. And okay, I'm going to read this checklist. Okay, this is a checklist to ensure meetings are compliant with the right to know law in the state of emergency. As chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Excellence in Student Achievement Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Excellence in Student Achievement Committee, Subcommittee, have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656, meeting ID 975-3508-5851, or by clicking on the following website address: www.youtube.com/c/SRSD meeting videos. And that's on the SIU 17 website as well. Okay, B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.siu17.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 978-482-7394 or email at helpdesk@siu17.net. D, during the meeting, if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. All votes that are taken during the meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Let me get back to my Zoom window here. Minimized on me. There we go. Okay, I'll start. Tammy Mahoney, I'm at home. There's no one around me here. Dawn?
Dawn Dutton, I'm at home in my fourth grader's learning environment. And no one is around me right now.
String lights behind you there. Jamie? Glad you could.
Jamie Fitzpatrick, I'm at my home office. None of my regular lights that I hang from the ceiling are visible within my screen.
You're no fun, Jamie.
Didn't say they weren't visible outside my screen, just not visible inside my screen.
Patty?
Patty Haynes, I am in the SIU office. My door's shut. I'm here by myself.
And Grace?
Grace Evans, I'm at home. There is no one else in the room.
And Tammy, you froze.
I did. I was wondering, is it me? Is it?
Okay, I assumed he was. Am I still frozen?
Nope, you moved.
No, you're back. Yep.
Okay. My internet connection is unstable. Zoom is just informing me. I don't know why that would be, but okay. Are we waiting for Tom? We're not really going to wait, but is Tom?
Tom said he might be late. He's catching up with Matt on some items coming out of the last meeting. And so I don't know it or not. If he does, he'll was the message he gave me to carry.
All right, thanks. Okay, we are going to end this at 5:30, whether we're done or not. So let's just proceed here. Okay, motion on the minutes of this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, roll call vote. Don?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
And I for me as well. Okay, thank you. And item agenda number 1, opening. How is that going?
It's going well. So I wanted to just have Grace give a little input on how she's been doing. It sort of aligns with committee goal number 1, which is item 4, implementing improved math instruction as part of the school opening, because she has another appointment she's got to get to. When we move the time of the meeting, sort of coincided and collided, but things are going well. I know I just overheard Dawn talking, things are, cooking and the kids are busy and the teachers are all doing well. And we seem to have, taken care of some of the technology issues. I guess there was a glitch. It wasn't just our glitch. It was a larger systematic glitch that some of the providers had. So there was a little bit of technical issues, but for the most part, kids seem to be happy. We had preschool start yesterday, kids in person. So they were in the preschool classes. It was nice to hear some kid noise in the hallway and Bakey. So right now, it seems like things are pretty smooth and kids are learning and teachers are teaching and everybody's busy. So sounds good. Grace, you want to just talk a little bit about your first encounters with your folks in math?
Yeah. So of course I've been working on just understanding the district and the context of the whole place. And really my big focus right now, with respect to math instruction, is what is happening right now. Why is it happening and how did it come to be that way before I make any kind of recommendations or we start to make plans for what to do next. And so there are 8 high school teachers and 2 middle school teachers, along with 2 interventionists and assorted paras and special ed co-teachers. I've been meeting with all of them in different configurations. I've been observing classes. There's a lot right now that can pull our attention away from instruction. And my primary focus is keeping the focus on instruction whenever I meet with teachers. So we can look at work, we can talk about kids, we can talk about math. And that's what we're focusing on so far, is just finding ways to look at what students are doing, talk about what they're understanding and what the next steps are.
We lost you for a little bit there, Grace.
Oh dear, sorry.
Oh, I didn't.
I heard
Oh,
her.
really?
I held up.
Maybe
Yeah,
it
I
was just you,
heard that.
Jamie.
Did you have any questions, Jamie, or anything that you want needed to have repeated there?
No, I until she's observing classes and trying to find ways to focus, and then she went out.
On
Just
instruction.
focusing on student learning. Always like, what are students learning? How do we know? What's the next step? What is their work showing?
Does anyone have any questions? So we're covering agenda item number 4 here too, just to be clear. Grace has to leave.
Yeah, so Grace, I was in, as you know, I was in the interview committee, the original one, and then I was in the board committee review. Great hopes. What's your initial assessment as to? You said you're looking at where we are, why we are, and how we got there. What's your initial take on just at least where we are?
I think we're in a place where a lot has gotten in the way of talking about instruction. I think we have a lot of really committed teachers who care about kids and care about their learning. I don't get pushback when I try to talk to folks about what kids are learning. People are easily engaged in talking and thinking about kids learning, which is not surprising, but is delightful to find. But I think there have been a lot of operational and structural things in the way of having regular conversations about kids learning. And that's sort of where I'm starting is by saying, in all the places I'm in, what are students learning and where we go from here?
And I think what's really good right now is that Grace really can focus on the instruction. She can talk to the teachers about that. I mean, as much as, I want to do more of that, we're bogged down with all kinds of other things going on. And so having her look at that, and we're also going to be having Kim Conant and Donna Donnell attend these meetings so that they can give perspective on what's happening with literacy and math at the K-6 level, so that we can really start to talk more about instruction as a whole. We've taken care of the reorganization. We were hoping if, the world was a little bit more vanilla like it used to be last year at this time, and we didn't have a pandemic to deal with, we'd be now talking about what we're putting in place for instruction more than trying to figure out all the nuances of how to maneuver with the pandemic and remote learning. So I really think that we're heading in a good direction. We've got some good plans. We meet regularly. Grace and I, Kim and I, Donna and I, we're really having those good conversations now that we're carving out that time, and we're really making a focus to do that. So
The other thing I'm seeing too, Jamie, is that a lot of things that I think are what need to happen next, folks are eager to do. So folks want to have conversations about instruction. Folks want to have alignment conversations 6 to 12. The 8th and 9th grade teachers are excited to be in the same buildings. It's going to make everything so much easier just to talk about when we're sending kids from 8th to 9th grade, where are they going and why? So as I start to put these things in place, I'm really getting the opposite of pushback from teachers. They're ready. And they're, I think, excited to have someone whose dedicated position it is to focus on math instruction, because especially in a pandemic, Patty and Tom and everyone is pulled in 1,000 directions.
Yeah, so that kind of answers one of my other questions. Was you're kind of coming in at the front end of your career. Some of the people that you are working with, counseling, directing, are front end of their career. You're an outsider from a big city coming to a small town of people that are set in their ways. Normally that's a mixture for not a good reception. How are you finding that?
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly been on my mind. It definitely gives me anxiety some days. But I think the fact of the matter is, I've been the youngest one in the room, been the new person in the room in a lot of different ways. And I think I know how to communicate respect for what folks are doing. And that's in general what I'm finding. And I do a lot of that through the math. I'm excited about what folks are doing. And, I'm finding that everybody from top to bottom wants to talk about student learning. And there are things that they've seen that are challenging or that they've wanted to work on and haven't quite had time to work on over the last several years. And they're excited to have someone in a role who can partner with them in starting to make some stuff happen. So I think I've been really pleased with my interactions with teachers so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you can be viewed as a catalyst rather than a threat, that's you're doing a good job.
Yeah, and I'm really framing it a lot as like, my first job is to listen, figure things out. We're going to be a team. We're going to partner together and figure out how to move stuff forward. It's not my job to impose change right now. I can go if there are unilateral things that need to be imposed. We can always scapegoat Patty for that to bring down the hammer and say, this is what's happening.
absolutely, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, but so my role has been to say, like, tell me more about what's going on with that, and has it always been that way, and is that how you want it to work? And I think that's enabling me to build strong relationships with folks.
Grace, we know you've got to go. Thank you so much, and we'll finish up without you. So take care and good luck.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so that takes care of agenda item 4. And still on 1.
Jamie's got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Jamie, you have a question?
Yeah, just Patty made a statement that surprised me. Just like to follow up. We had kids in school, pre-K, come to school.
We had preschool students in school because the preschoolers who are coming are the ones who are identified through Child Find, and they are special education students on IEPs. And through the program that's set up that way, they actually come in and they receive services. So it's preschool with IEPs getting services.
Okay,
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Nope. I want to make sure I was understanding this correctly.
Yeah. Kid noise. Yeah. So we could circle back to number 1 about school opening. One of the things that we had promised parents in the community was at certain points during the remote period, we would be sending out surveys and asking them, how things are going. And we had sent out a constant contact newsletter yesterday from every building and also from the superintendent's office, telling parents that there's going to be a survey coming out on Friday the 18th. This is going to be coming out again through Panorama Education. Same company we used back in July when we were surveying parents. And it's just going to be to find out, get some information from them about what they're thinking as far as if we're going to head toward a remote or bring kids back into the building. And then on the 20th, I'm just checking my calendar, the 27th, we're going to be sending out another survey that's actually going to be asking parents about how they're finding the remote learning setup right now compared to what it was like in spring. We're also reaching out building by building to parents to attend virtual coffee hours. The coffee's not virtual, or maybe it is virtual. I don't know. They were talking about virtual scones. They lost me. But there'll be virtual conversations that they can have in Zoom with the building principals just to, drop in. There'll be morning meetings, and there could be also evening meetings that parents could drop into. They can choose one or the other and just give some feedback about how things are going. Some of the stuff we can control as far as what the teachers are doing. Wide outages of internet, we can't always control that, but we want to hear from parents and families how things are going.
Jamie?
So you said we're sending out the information on constant contact, but a lot of the community or the family members aren't on constant contact. Is there a way that we can utilize the snowbound lists where we contact people and let them know to go look for this so we get a wider?
We could look at that. Yep. I know it was also posted to Facebook. I think Tom put it on Facebook, but we can also look at alternative methods, whether we do like the robocall. I hate to call it that, but it's that phone kind of thing. And yeah,
I think that just takes away anybody's ability to not have heard about it. And
Yep.
Same methodology we use to cancel school, the same methodology that we use for a snow day. This methodology is getting to everybody that's got a kid in
Yep.
there. So you really need to fill this out as we try to figure out how to get the kids back and what we're going to be facing. And I just think you'll get a wider net that way.
And we can definitely push that from the district and then just do it once and capture everybody we've got phone numbers for, and hopefully all the information's updated. I know we had folks updating stuff with, new enrollments beginning of the year. You always have to update that. So hopefully we've got everything back that we need, and we'll do that. Yeah, I will. I'll get on that tomorrow. We'll make sure everybody gets their phone call. Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else on number 1? Okay. Number 2.
So Alma, we wrote up a little report here because I didn't want to forget anything. So on August 26th and 27th, Teresa Schneider-Hines, she was the same person who presented to the board and to this subgroup, came to Sanborn, and she provided gradebook training to the teachers. The training included assignment creation, viewing mastery of standards and competencies, keeping track of assignment accountability. She showed teachers a number of shortcuts and gave them some tips and tricks to use in order to streamline their workflow. She pointed out the study guides that the teachers have access to for help when they get into the system. There's actually study guides that are in there that they can pull up to sort of help them along until they sort of make things routine. We actually were able to record 2 of her sessions because they were in Zoom, and teachers can watch those when they're actively working in the system, when the system is live. Much of the back end work has been completed by IT. This is getting rosters set, getting people in the right courses, schedules, staff accounts, loading student information, updating all the standards and competencies. Middle school and elementary school rosters and schedules are in. And as of yesterday, the high school add drop period ended. So they're just finalizing some class configurations at the high school, and they'll be ready to go with that. And in speaking to IT, we anticipate that they'll be ready to launch that for teacher use sometime next week. We're not sure yet when that's going to be. That will also be going live for parents to take a look at the grade book, and we'll be communicating some of that at the middle and high school level initially, giving the elementary folks a little bit more time to get used to the system, Grading doesn't happen as regularly with the young children, but they will be sending out a progress report probably mid-October that is going to come out of Alma, that'll be printed and sent home with directions about how to start looking at the grade book for the K through 6 students in November. So that's coming as well. As teachers start to use the system in the next few weeks, they'll get more comfortable with it. And Teresa has volunteered to come back to do additional training, troubleshoot, answer questions whenever we need her. So we're really fortunate to have her connection and her help.
Okay, how are the teachers? How is the response been, the adoption?
So they really haven't gotten into it yet because we're still working on finalizing all the class lists. We had children who were moving out, children moving in, trying to get all the startup stuff done. We're anticipating they're going to actually start actively using it next week. So I'll have more information for you to report on that in October. But right now, I'll tell you after the training, this is back at the end of August. So still think about a honeymoon period, if we even had one this year with, no summer and stuff. They were incredibly excited about what they saw that it could do. They liked the way it could group information, and you could look to see, okay, here's a standard I need to assess. How many times did I assess it? Oh, no wonder they're not doing good on this. I've only touched it once. All these things that the teachers wanted for such a long time. They love the color coding. They love the fact that you can put stuff in there for certain students to do. You don't have to assign things to the whole class if you only need 3 kids to work on it. There's just a lot of features in there that they're extremely excited about. And the one comment that they kept putting into the survey was, it seems really intuitive and user-friendly. And this is just from them sitting, watching her show them what to do with a dummy class, just like she did for us. So they're really excited about it. And, they're clamoring to know, when are we going to get to use it? And I actually heard from Heidi Levitt. She's like, well, people are asking, when is this going to be ready? And she says, I had to tell them we're not done with our classes. Once we get all of our classes set, it'll be ready to go, because you want to make sure you've got the right kids in your class. So really excited about this.
Jamie, did you have a question?
Well, you asked it. I mean, normally you have at least a core group of resistance to change. And if you're seeing people by and large all being accepting of it, it's a testament to how bad your current system is.
I was just going to say that. It was like, we had the root canal with no Novocaine first. It's like, after that, everything's good, So yeah, it was so bad that just watching this, they were so much happier with the ease at which you could put things in, and just, they liked the way it looked. They liked the way, oh, could you do this? Yes, you can do that. Oh, could you do that? Yes, you can do that. And it was like, everything was yes, yes, yes. So yeah, you're right. That's how bad it was before. So yep.
It's good to have a low bar comparison to get people to
I
buy.
love it. I know. I wish everything was like that. Seriously. That's why indoor plumbing was such a hit.
Dawn?
That's on tape.
God. That was good.
Oh my goodness. So now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, you were talking about how next week, they might be able to start doing some stuff with it. So when will it go live for parents? Like, when will that transition happen?
Really close, because what we're going to do is there's a lot of communication that's going out because of the pandemic and everything else.
Right.
So it seems like we're communicating all the time. And the analogy I keep using is, I want to send things out in little drips instead of a big, onslaught of stuff. And so we're trying to manage the communication about the pandemic, the communication about remote learning, the communication about that with this too. So middle and high school will be letting parents know that it's coming, and then we'll set a date and time for parents to sort of look for this.
Okay.
And we're going to make sure that that's sort of a standalone piece of information. It's not going to come buried in something else that you're going to miss it. It's going to be
Great.
this standalone sort of, hey, this is coming kind of a thing. We're anticipating it's going to be very close. As soon as we know that the teachers are ready to go in and start putting things in, we're going to say, okay, we'll open it up to parents. But that right now, it's these little last pieces that have to sort of get finalized.
Okay,
So
great.
I would say sometime next week. It could be next Wednesday. It could be next Friday. It could be
Right.
next Monday.
Soon.
So
that's
soon.
awesome. That's
very
great.
soon. Yeah.
That's great. And you said this is even going to be like, so will parents be able to log in even at the younger grade levels and look at all of this?
So initially, we're going to turn it on for 7 through 12
Okay.
because they're used to sort of getting in there and they've already got assessments. K through 6, the assessments are different. More of the time is spent on, especially with this environment, getting folks used to routines, getting to know one another, all of those kinds of things that sound like they're fluff, but they're not really, because if you know that your child is feeling secure in their environment and they're secure with the people in their class and they know what the routines and expectations are, they'll perform better. So we're letting the teachers lay all that groundwork. We've got a bunch of assessments. That's one of the items on here that are coming up. That's going to chew up some of the instructional time. So what's going to end up happening is when it's time for progress reports, we're going to run the progress report through Alma, send that home so that parents can view that and say to them in some sort of a communication, whether it's a hard copy letter or hard copy and email, this is coming. We're going to open this up and we're going to open it up for the second trimester, which is November.
Okay.
So it's not that far away if you think in terms of how much work is getting done, and it's a longer build for the younger students.
Right. No, I'm just excited to be able to have the younger students, like have access to the younger students. So that was the only reason I was asking. And it makes perfect sense as to why it's not right away, because it is done very differently at the younger grades. So
it's incredibly different. And what we're looking forward to is having this as an open method of communication between home and school, where parents could even jump on and they could send an email. This is another thing that the teachers were excited on. So you log on as a parent and you look and you see that something wasn't turned in, or there's a grade there that you don't quite understand. And so you email the teacher, hey, how come Sally didn't turn this in? You know, I know that she did it at home and we're looking for this, or why was her grade like this? And, you know, it seemed like she understood the concept. The email will go through Alma, but it will come in to the teacher's regular email account. So you're not having to manage, okay, here's my regular email, then I have to go into Alma and read all those messages. They're going to talk to each other.
perfect.
So you email the teacher, it's going to come right in on the email. And oh, okay, Mrs. Dutton's asking about why this didn't happen. Oh, I can get right back to her. So
I can tell you why it didn't happen.
Really, well, or why something did happen. But that's the other thing that they liked, is you don't have to bounce around, because you could very easily lose track of where you did what, who you told. You don't have it all in one spot. So yeah, we're really excited about that being method of communication and really helping parents to understand what's happening, why the grade is the way it is, where their child might need support.
Yeah, that parent-teacher communication is key. It's huge. So I'm super excited about that.
Does Alma store that email in Alma? So
No.
it just transports it. It doesn't store it. Okay.
Nope, right. But there are some other systems, and I can't think of any right now, but there are other systems where you're in the software, you can only communicate in the software, and there's no way to bring that information over to your email. And it's just, we didn't want that. It's just too much.
Okay, anything else on the grade reporting at the moment? Okay, if not, then moving on. So, assessments and evaluating student achievement.
So I had sent out for the last EISA meeting a chart or a table that had all of our fall assessments on it. And it looked, with my screen share, it looked kind of like this. And basically, we've got a number of assessments that are coming to our students this October. One of the assessments is being required by the Department of Education. It's the New Hampshire Statewide Assessment System, the SAS. And the reason the state is requiring this is they want to get, according to Commissioner Edelblue, statewide perspective on where students are right now, given that we were statewide remote last spring. We didn't have the spring assessments, everything got suspended. So they want some sort of a data point on student achievement. So what's going to happen in October, beginning on or around October 5th, children in grades 4 through 8 are going to take the SAS, the statewide assessment, in both ELA and math, but for their previous year. So 4th graders will take the 3rd grade ELA and the 3rd grade math. 5th graders will take the 4th grade ELA and the 4th grade math. But it will be the interim assessment, not the full comprehensive assessment, the summative that would have been given last spring. This is going to be an interim assessment that's going to take a half hour, 30 minutes. So it's going to be 30 minutes of math, 30 minutes of ELA. There's going to be data that comes to us. The state is not using it for accountability. What the state wants to do with it is pretty much figure out, how did the kids do last year? So if a 4th grader is taking the 3rd grade test, did they kind of make gains to where they should have been last year? So that's happening in October, and we're going to get that out of the way as soon as we can at the beginning of October. Because the other assessment that we've got happening in October is our traditional NWEA or NEWA MAP growth assessment, which is traditionally given to students after at least 4 weeks of instruction have gone by. And they're given to the students in grades 1 through 10. Children in grades 1 and 2 have 2 tests. It's reading and math. Children in the other grades have 3 tests. It will be reading, language, which is more vocabulary, and math. And that will be done remotely. Parents are going to be getting some information about how this is going to happen and how it's going to take place. But we've set up the NEWA test schedule so that we start with our oldest students doing this remotely. It's going to be easier for our 7th through 10th grade students to deal with hiccups in technology, having to wait, and us ironing things out than it would be to have our 1st and 2nd graders doing it at home and having parents panic and children start crying. We don't want that to happen. So we're going to start with our oldest students. That starts around October 13th. I've already changed this schedule, I kid you not, 5 times, because we're trying to adjust for training for teachers, practice tests, checking devices. There's a whole device check that has to go on, which is really simple. You click on this link and it brings you there, and the computer just goes through this system to check resolution and all these things. But it's just all these things that we want to make sure are in place, because the NWEA test gives us the longitudinal data for our kids, and our teachers rely on this in order to help them plan instruction. So on or around October 13th, we'll start that with the oldest children. And each week it'll be going sort of down to the next building. So middle and high school first, then Memorial, and then toward the end of the month, it'll be Bakey with the youngest. And by that point, we'll have worked out hopefully all the kinks, and things will be to a place where we kind of know what could go wrong, and we can anticipate this, and we can definitely help the parents help us do this remotely. But it's a very involved process, and we're going very carefully because it's very important. We want the data to be valid and reliable. And then coming up also, and traditionally we have our teachers do running records with our students in grades 1 through 6, where they're reading passages and the teacher is reading along to see where they're making errors in their reading. And then they ask them about vocabulary and comprehension. We had usually started that in the middle of October. And that's where the teacher is just sitting with one student and doing that. We could do that remotely. We're waiting to see what ends up happening with our cases and our instructional situation before we figure that out. So we're waiting on that. The school day SAT that should have taken place last spring, again, that was another test that was suspended because of the pandemic. That will be taking place on October 14th during the day in school. Students will be coming in grade 12, take the test in person. Heidi has her whole team getting all that ready and extension cords and all the things that they need. So they're all set for that. And there'll be a makeup date on October 27th. We had our kindergarten readiness screening take place September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And on those days, we conducted our PALS dyslexia screening for our students to get an idea of where they are as far as their pre-reading skills, and kind of flag any students who might need some help, who might be, in need of additional support with reading as far as dyslexia is concerned. So that screener is all done. And we also currently have all of our teachers in grades K through 8 conducting what they're called on-demand writing assessments. So in the areas of narrative writing, informational writing, and argumentative writing, our teachers are giving students just the direction to write me a story that's narrative, and they give them amount of time to write a story so that we have baseline writing data as the year goes on that we can compare to how much have they grown. And so the on-demand is really just it's a cold write. Write me something that you know all about that's informational. Write me something that you can persuade me about. What's something you feel important about? You think skateboarding should be allowed on public roads, or whatever it is you feel real passionate about, and that would be argumentative, and that happens kindergarten through 8th grade. Kindergarten, what can they do? There's a lot of growth that happens in kindergarten. I used to teach kindergarten, and boy, that's one grade you teach and you feel like you've actually done something, because they leave you and they're little geniuses. So yeah, so we have a lot of assessing going on, which again goes back to why the Alma window for the younger students is going to open later, because there's just a lot of this getting to know the kids, and it's a little bit more challenging in this format. And we're going slow, and we're going to get the information we need, and we're going to move forward with the kids and give them the best we can. That takes care of all the assessments. I think that's enough. It's quite a list.
Questions? The NHSAS is also going to be given remotely.
That will be remote as well. Yep. The NEWA and the SAS will both be remote. The information on the SAS hasn't been as robust as what NWEA has given us. Like NWEA is giving us like all of this sort of, these are the steps you need to take. The SAS is sort of like, hop on here, put the kids on here and go. And it's a half hour and you're kind of going, okay, but it's a remote test and we're going to do it. So.
Just some feedback, not a question. So we signed up for VLAX for math because of my focus on math. And you'll be glad to hear that in the comparison of the two programs, I think that the Sanborn program is better. I think that there's some IXL issues. I'm not a big fan of that as a platform and its usability and what it considers to be right versus wrong. But the instructional is actually better at Sanborn than I'm finding at VLAX. VLAX is very prescriptive in ways that aren't bettering a cumulative knowledge. It's very retarding of knowledge. You must do it and Patty, you and I had these discussions years ago. You must do it. You must do divisions by drawing rectangles, for example. You must not calculate it out properly in terms of how many times does this go into this. You have to bring down two sets of numbers rather than one set of number for each movement. And don't do it. It says, okay, warning, you're not doing your job right. And their interactivity is poor. So I think and this is somebody that does this for a living, right? Is VLAX, that's all they are. And I'm finding that what you folks have put together, at least at the 6th grade level, is actually superior. So I thought I'd give you that feedback.
That's nice to hear, because I know that our teachers have been working incredibly hard. I mean, they are to the point where, I had to tell them in one of my Tuesday views, I send out a newsletter every Tuesday. It's called Tuesday's View from the SAU. because, I have to be unique like that. But anyway, I had to tell them, like, just take it the way it's coming. Don't try to be perfect, because if you make perfect your goal, you're never going to get there. Do the best you can. And they are just absolutely hitting it out of the park from what I can see. And I'm just on the periphery. So that's really good feedback to hear.
Anything else? Okay. All right, we made it to number 5. I didn't think we would.
Neither did I, honestly. I didn't think so either. And as far as number 5 goes, that still has to get started. We're barely getting off the ground this year as far as getting our year going. And so end of the year benchmarks for each grade level, we've got targets and skills that we want teachers to start with. Donna Donnell and I met today, and we talked about what we're going to be doing as far as looking at our next program, and we're sort of laying that out. And there's a lot of work that's going to come with that, but that's not something we've really gotten going just yet.
Any questions on that?
I really like your lights, Dawn. I mean, that's just like, I'm thinking I got to get those for this office.
This
I
is
just like
4th
that.
grade,
But that's
Chair,
about
but-
where I am right now.
She wanted her tapestry in the background and
I
her
like
lights
it.
showing, so we created her workstation right here. So
I like that.
she doesn't fill up quite as much of the space as I do, but
I like it.
Yeah, I can tell you my college age daughter,
yes.
set
Yes.
her room up that same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, my senior has LED lights all around the top of her room, so that's why my 4th grader wanted lights around her room because big sister has them. So,
Awesome. I like it.
Okay. All right. Well, unless there's anything else for now, Jamie.
Of course. So Patty, we got everybody's back in the classrooms. So there's some consternation with having to come back in the classrooms. They're back in the classrooms now. They're teaching remotely from the classrooms. Number of leaves had to be taken, number of reassignments had to be done. What's your assessment as to where we are with the teachers, the interaction, the level of coming together to actually improve the remote? I mean, there's been a little bit of contention having to do it out of the classroom. What's your assessment of where we are with all this?
So from my perspective, and I don't know a lot of what Diana deals with in HR, and I don't know all the nuances of what Tom's dealing with, but from what I'm hearing and from the people I've talked to, it's like I said earlier, the teachers are excited to be back. They're in a groove. I think they feel like a lot of us did when we finally started to come out of the lockdown, and it's like, okay, I have a routine and I can come into work and I can do what I need to do. And they're being very careful as far as, washing and distancing and sanitizing and masks. And we haven't had, arguing about that. And I mean, we've had some of the meetings, the admin meetings in the high school, and just, you take a break, you walk down the hall to go to the bathroom. People are walking around in masks. They're doing what they need to do. I hear conversations in the classrooms going on that the teachers are teaching and kids are giving feedback. So it's sounding like, with the exception of there's no kid noise, but it's sounding like school. And it's feeling like, a workplace. There's not a feeling of anger. There's no heaviness in the air. People are just, excited to be doing what they're doing, and school and routine. So I think right now that's where we are as of, today, September 16th. So keeping an eye on, what happens with cases and things. I mean, I don't know, what could be coming down the road for any of us, but we didn't know last January what was coming for us come March either. So you can't forecast, but right now things are feeling good and things are looking good, and people are, it's like Grace was saying, they want to talk school, they want to talk shop, they want to talk about how to improve things. Teachers are emailing about, they're emailing me about things that they're finding out and things that they're learning, and people are reaching out to be, working on things. So it's sounding good, and they're spending time planning, and I'm very heartwarmed by the fact that we're able to just keep moving forward.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, that was the hope, clearly. It's good
Yeah.
to see that's kind of happening.
Anything else?
I got a funny story if you want one about remote learning and being
Go ahead.
and being aware of live mics. I get a note from Ryan, Mr. Diplomat, saying, just so you're aware, when James was in class and you and your wife were redirecting him, the mic was on, so part of that may have potentially been heard. So what it was really was, at him, tell him to knock his crap off. We're gonna go slap him into Sunday.
Oh boy.
It was very diplomatic. So beware the open mic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had a situation similar to that, except it was my younger child was in this room, and my oldest and I were outside the door debating about some schoolwork. So,
Yep.
it's going to happen to everybody. Yeah, it's going to happen.
There's humor there.
It's real life. I mean,
Well, it's like, you end up with you getting bombed by your dog, or, this is what it is. You're home. Yeah.
yes.
But we were very
Exactly.
familiar with Tammy's cat's tail.
Okay, I know.
See the rest of it, just the tail.
Nice and fluffy.
Yeah.
Oh, hell, that was on YouTube. Oh, well.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a little extra time to get ourselves over to the school for our meeting at 6 o'clock. So that's all good. Our next meeting is 4 weeks from today, October 21st.
Perfect.
And we are adjourned.